Having a plan and sticking to the plan are very, very crucial for this kind of exam. And in the past, I've always had a great plan, but sticking to the plan is an area where I've always struggled. And there have been a few things. One of the things has been motivation, and to overcome that and to keep myself motivated, I'm creating a series of videos on my CFA Level 3 examination journey. And hopefully anyone watching out there, you guys can also benefit from these videos. In 2020, it'll be my fourth and final time. Now, I do want to share my previous plans with you. They've been relatively consistent. So every year I take out a spreadsheet, I list down all the 35 plus readings in the curriculum, and I slot a schedule for these readings, when I'm going to finish them and also when I'm going to give practice tests for these readings. And the schedule is pretty robust. There are 2 rounds of schedules because I do want to cover the curriculum twice. The first time you always forget a lot of the things, and it's pretty comprehensive. When I start my readings, I assign a difficulty level from low, medium and difficult, keeping in mind that the difficult topics I do want to cover at a later stage in a bit more detail. Obviously, what I'm finding is that that later stage never comes, and I'm always struggling for time towards the end of my preparation. And even though I do always finish covering all the readings, the quality of those readings isn't the best. One of the other things that I encounter is shortcuts. Whilst I'm going through the readings, I don't pay too much attention to the questions. I say I'm going to come and revise the questions and even the formulas at a later stage. And what lands up happening is the later stage is a very compressed, short time frame, usually the last month, where I am trying to be Superman and pretty much achieve the impossible. So this year it's a bit different. I have decided how many hours I'm going to put in. The last couple of years I haven't been putting enough hours. Hopefully by starting my preparation a little earlier, instead of the usual January to February, I'm now starting on the 1st of November. I do feel that I think I'll get a bit more time and a bit more hours behind my belt than I have previously. So what I've done is I've taken the readings, 38 of them, and put them on a spreadsheet again. But instead of scheduling them per days, I've started scheduling them in terms of how many hours I'm going to put in each reading. And the total is coming to 200 hours. I want to spend 200 hours reading the material, going through the end of chapter questions, and then I want to put an additional 60 hours doing mock exams and further reviews towards the latter end of the preparation. I think 260 hours is sufficient for me. It may not be for many of you, but given the fact that this is my 4th time and the highest I've ever put for a level 3 examination is close to 150 hours, I thought it's probably enough for me. And I've kind of emulated the effort based on the CFA weightings on each individual topic. So for example, if portfolio management is worth 35 to 40%, I've tried to keep my allotted hours in that time frame as well. There is a bit of adjustments. There are certain areas that I'm not that good in, such as fixed income and equity, and I will really want to cover those areas, so I am weighting them accordingly. And in areas where I've done well in the past and I think there's not going to be a major issue for me, I've tried to scale back the hours. So this is the approach I'm taking this year. I think following an hour methodology, I would also know whether I'm on track or not. Even though I tracked my hours last few years, in fact I've tracked them all the time, I think this time I'll really be very sure how far I am from my targeted allotment. Now, one of the important things in starting your studies and also upfront plan is what sort of sequencing do you do? And really there is no particular sequencing that one should follow. I've followed various techniques, easing into the curriculum by looking at certain easier topics and leaving ethics and GIPS towards the end so that I can remember and recollect them. And I've also tried the technique of touching the harder topics. I think this year I'm also going to focus on the harder topics first. I am really poor in fixed income and equity. I've figured that out after 3 attempts, and those are the 2 areas that I will put most of my initial efforts in, so that later on when I come for my second review I would have already covered it properly in the first round. So those are my topics. There's a friend of mine who's giving level 3. He's starting with behavioral finance. He thinks that's a nice, easy way into picking up the rhythm. That's also a useful technique. But really, it's whatever works for you. You know, everyone has a different subjectivity around what is tough and what is easy. And to be honest, I've been surprised with my results on a number of occasions. I've thought these are my weakest areas and I've done well in them, and my strong areas I've not done well. So sometimes, even after giving this exam multiple times, the results can be quite interesting and unique. But yeah, that's my preparation and plan. And all the best for your preparation. I'll come up with a few more videos on certain topics where I feel I should contribute and let you guys know. You know, as I said in my previous videos, I'm not the person who's passed on first attempt. I'm not the person who's passed on the second attempt. But I can advise you of the mistakes that I've made and things that you should watch out for, because last thing you want is to you know, put in those incredible number of hours and still not be able to pass. I'd be keen to know what your strategy is, what sort of approach you're taking in terms of allocating the hours, in terms of scheduling, or in terms of sequencing. You know, these are all important planning strategies up front, because you can't really change your tact midway through. I mean, you can, but it's a lot harder once you're into the thick of it, you know, so especially when you're running out of time. So it's good to discuss plans and strategies up front and ensure that hopefully this time I stick to the plan. I think this has been my weak point, but definitely I will know where I'm at before the end of the year, something that I've not been able to achieve over the last couple of years.